Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to Third Wave Trades. First things first, before I say anything else, let me just throw out the disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence and research and/or consult with a financial advisor before making any trading or investment decisions. Secondly, guys, this video might be somewhat rambling. I don't really have the time to plan it out and edit it how I would like, because I'm trying to get this out as soon as possible before Monday so you guys can all see it. So just bear with me. I'm gonna put timestamps on the video at the end, so this way you guys can just forward straight to the analysis that you guys want to see. But there will be times that I start rambling, so just bear with that. But yeah, I want as many people to see this as possible because I do think that there's going to be a huge play, either Monday morning or Tuesday. Obviously, we all know what stock I'm talking about. It's GameStop, uh, and everybody knows the thesis by Roaring Kitty and the whole possibility of a short squeeze. What I want to do is talk about the technical analysis side of it because I think technical analysis is confirming the idea that a major short squeeze is going to happen. So we'll get into that in a second, but yeah, so I want as many people to see this as possible. So if you could, guys, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, and please share this with as many people as you can, right? So on YouTube, TikTok, if you guys want to clip it up and share it on TikTok, Twitter, however you guys can to get this out there. I think a lot of people would benefit from seeing this, right? There's probably still a lot of people that are skeptical about whether or not GameStop is going to do what it did in 2021. I personally think that it is based off of not just what we all know in terms of the short squeeze and it being heavily shorted and Roaring Kitty coming back and all the hype behind it, but the technical analysis confirms that. And I know there's a lot of people who are not believers of technical analysis, period, who think it's just a bunch of lines drawn on paper and it's astrology for men or, all those things. But most people don't understand technical analysis, right? Their technical analysis begins and ends with support and resistance lines, and they don't have an understanding of the nuance of strategies that have been around for hundreds of years. Well, not hundreds of years, but for the last 100 years, right? From Wyckoff to Elliott, Elliott wave, stage analysis, and all these things, right? So, yeah, so I want to go into depth, basically based off of Wyckoff and Elliott wave, and show you guys why I think GameStop is going to run really heavy. I don't think there's any fluke as to why Roaring Kitty is coming out when he's coming out, right? So we'll get into all of that. So again, guys, please like, subscribe, and share the video with as many people as you can before Monday. All right, guys. So first things first, I have the weekly chart pulled up here for GameStop, right? And just so you guys know, this is in logarithmic scale, which I think is the best form for you doing analysis. So this is GameStop, and this is the weekly chart. This is going all the way back to 2020, where this whole run up started, right? So this is where we reached these levels of $125. Well, that's 125 after the split. Before the split, I think it was 400 or 500 something. But these were the highs that we made back then, 3 years ago, right? And then since then, you could see we've had all of this, sideways chop for almost 3 years now. So let's just get this out here, right? So how do I want to analyze this? The first thing that I want you guys to understand is that this whole move right here, since the top in 2021, in my opinion, has been an accumulation. Okay, So all of this sideways chop, the reason why it's been trading in this range is because um, big money has been accumulating positions, right? This thing is poised to run, in my opinion, and big money, smart money, whatever you want to call it, because you understand, like there's hedge funds or big money on both sides of this play. There are those who are shorting it, but there are also those who are backing it, and so basically it's a fight between them to you know to accumulate shares. And basically, for the last 3 years, I think that's all that's been happening. GameStop would make a run, get pushed back down because they're accumulating shares. So the best way to analyze this, in my opinion, is through the Wyckoff method. So if we break it down into the different stages, you can see stage A, we had this massive rally um, right here, right? And you can see that with the volume as well. So let me just grab a marker, right? You can see the volume picking up, right? After that, we had, this accumulation period, which is all of B right here, right? And you can see that it matches the volume as well. Look at all this low volume. This is what you would expect in phase B of an accumulation period, right? So you had a selling climax followed by an automatic rally, secondary test, up thrust move, a bunch of secondary tests, some sign of strength, sign of weakness, right? To the point where we actually started forming this like little creek over here, right? And then we got to phase C. You could consider this a first spring, and then we had this secondary spring move, and that all led to this strong, powerful move, which is our jump across the creek, right? So this is our creek, and this is our jump across the creek, and you can see that came with strong volume. We haven't had this kind of volume all this time. That's how you know what's happening now is different, right? Because all this time you can see this is a weekly chart. You can see we've had no volume whatsoever, right? And now all of a sudden the volume is picking back up. That's exactly what you would expect once you get that jump across the creek move. So what happens after the jump across the creek? You get the move, which is basically where you go back up the creek, right? And it's basically your last point of support in phase D. So, we finally broke out of this range right here, right? That right there is huge. We did it with volume, and now we're going back to test it, and we did test it. Actually, we did test it, and we came back, and we pushed back up. So we're essentially in phase D. This is the time to buy, because basically what comes after phase D is essentially this, guys. Right now, we should just be getting straight sign of strengths, last point of support, sign of strength, last point of support, and just go so much higher, right? So when you're looking at the Wyckoff method, right, for accumulation or distribution, whichever side you're playing, phase D and phase E is the time after long periods of consolidation to get into a play, right? So it's still early. I know there's a lot of people who probably think, well, oh, GameStop already made its move, it's done, it's over. No, I think this thing is just honestly getting started. If we compare it back to this move back here in January, I think we're here right now, right? We're like that's where we are right now. Where you can see over here there was a period of accumulation, and then you got into phase D. You broke out, came back, retested, and then this would be all of phase E right here, right? So all that. So that's essentially what I think is playing out in the big picture of things. What's basically happened as a recap of what's happened for the last 3 years. We've essentially just been accumulating over here, and now this thing is finally ready to rip. We had the spring move around $10, jumped across the creek, came back, retested, and now we're ready to move into phase E, which will be just a series of higher highs and higher lows, right? We're going to be in a strong uptrend, in my opinion. All right, so that's the Wyckoff. All right, now another way that we can look at it is basically using stage analysis, which is just another form of analysis that is based off of Wyckoff. It's a slightly more up-to-date version. Yeah, I think it was invented in the 70s or the 80s by I can't remember his name at the time. I think it was Stan Weinstein. But essentially, this is what we're looking at. All right, we're going to use a 30-week simple moving average. So again, this is the weekly chart. This red line here is our 30-week moving average. And essentially what the stage analysis says is that there's 4 stages, right? So you have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and then you just repeat, right? So over here you have stage 1, the uptrend stage 2, consolidation stage 3, and then the pullback downtrend stage 4, and then it repeats again. Stage 1 consolidation, stage 2 uptrend, stage 3 consolidation, stage 4 downtrend, right? So with that in mind, you can see back here in 2020, this would be our stage 1. We're consolidating under the 30-week moving average. We broke above it with a break above the Mansfield Relative Strength Index. We did it with volume right here, okay? And then this would be the beginning of our stage 2 right here. So this is stage 1, this is our stage 2, all of this stage 2, right? Then we start to consolidate above the 30-week moving average. This is stage 3. We break below it, below the 30-week moving average, come back under Mansfield Relative Strength Index, and that would be our stage 4. And now since then, we've kind of been consolidating, right? Like I said, accumulating below or just above 30-week moving average. And you can see it over here. I have it drawn up. That's where we are. Like this point right now of stage 1 was this point back here in 2021. And you can see we finally got the break above the Mansfield Relative Strength Index as we broke above the 30-week moving average, and we did so with strong volume, right? So those are all 3 signs that Stan talks about in his stage analysis. So right now, you know, we are in this stage 2 break. Yeah, we came back down over here probably to retest the 30-week moving average. But from here on out, we could just expect another strong move like we had back in 2021 of just higher highs and higher lows, right? So just another form of the accumulation schematic from Wyckoff. But it's another way to confirm basically that this is in fact a strong breakout move, and we're going to see higher highs. And the biggest thing, guys, don't let it get lost on you, is the volume. So even over here, right, the volume is not nowhere near as high as it was back here, right? But if you compare it to all this for the last 3 years of no volume, that you know, it's very telling. Now, so this volume is comparable, right, to what we saw back here in the stage 1 analysis, when the volume finally starts to pick up after a long period of accumulation, right? You get the break above. Now, we might have a couple of days or weeks, whatever, where the volume goes back down and we start to get higher, but eventually this move will come, and I think you're going to see strong volume on as we start to go higher, probably stronger than we saw in 2021. So that's the big picture, guys. That's the big picture between the accumulation schematic Wyckoff, between stage analysis. On the big picture, again, this is a weekly chart. You can see that something very different is happening right now than has happened in the last 3 years, right? So this isn't just any regular like breakout. This is a very strong breakout as indicated by these 2 methods, right? So The next thing I want to do now is to kind of like zoom in and take a look at what's basically happening on a somewhat more closer level, right? So basically, let's take a look at what's happening right here, right? After we hit this low of roughly $10, right? Let's zoom into this on a higher time frame and see what we can look at from that standpoint. All right, so now we're going to use the Elliott wave form of analysis, right? So this is that point that I was talking about, right? That $10 range, right? Which would basically be our point of invalidation. If at any point, you know, we were to break below this, then the whole move becomes invalidated. I don't think that's going to happen, but you know, just so you guys know, that $10 range, that would be the point of invalidation. All right. But now let's take a look at what has happened, right? So obviously Elliott wave, you guys know, impulse moves go up in 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Corrections come down in 3 waves, and then again 5 waves, right? Because it's fractal in nature. So each wave is made up of subwaves, etc., right? So with that being said, this was our first major wave, right? That happened after, I guess you could say, Roaring Kitty posted that meme back in April, or around that time, right? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have an extended 5th wave, which is made up of 5 waves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that's all good and well. And then you have this correction right here. And keep in mind, guys, this is on a 1-hour chart. You guys can see over here there was a gap. So we came back to fill that gap, right? And this is A, B, C for a W, X, A, B in a triangle, and then C right there. So that's our second wave correction. And you guys can see we came back to fill that gap, and then we started the next move up. So we got 1, 2, right? And now we're essentially in the third wave of this move. But now the third wave itself is going to be broken down into subwaves, right? So the move that we had over here was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an expanding leading diagonal. And this was basically the highs that we got on Thursday after hours. And then Friday, we guys can see basically we fell right when GameStop issued that 75 million share offering, or the rights to sell. And at the same time, they put out the news report. I think all that was done on purpose, right? Get rid of 2 bad news events at the same time, right? They know it's going to be shorted anyway. So, you know, but that's another story, right? In terms of technical analysis, right, we left another gap over here now, right? So over here we had a gap. Over here, this was a fair value gap, but you can see it on a different time frame. Came back in there, pushed up. When we pushed up over here, we left a gap. So I think we are coming back to fill that gap, right? So after this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have this correction right here, which is a zigzag. You can probably see it on a smaller time frame, but it's essentially A, B, and C. And I think we are going to come back into this gap, fill this gap, and I think there's going to be a strong buy order over there from big money that is getting ready to push this thing a lot higher. Now, that would make this a 1, 2, and I don't think we're going to get the 3 right away, right? Which would be 161.8% of this move. I think we're going to get a 1-to-1, right? So that's basically a 1, 2, 1, 2 scenario. So again, we'll get a 1, 2 here, and this is the point where I think we will really take off. All right, so let me try to state that point a little bit more clearly. It's kind of hard to explain everything all at once without overwhelming everybody. If you're not familiar with wave theory, right? So I do I do think that we are in the third wave, right? That would be this intermediate third wave, but that's obviously broken down into subwaves of 5, right? But those can also be broken down into subwaves of 5. Um, so we have, again, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? These are different degrees of waves. We have this 1, 2 now. I think we're going to get another 1, 2, right? So this can be made up of 5, and then, right, this will be another 1, this will be another 2, and then that's the rocket that really is going to take off, right? So I don't think it's going to happen right away. I do think we're going to have a big push, probably back up to this $75, $80 level. But I do think shorts may come back in one last time, make one last effort to try to push this down, or there will be some people who will end up selling over here. But eventually, if it doesn't happen over here, one last push will probably be like a 61.8% retracement, and then we will really take off. We could just take off right here. I don't think it's as likely. So now let me zoom in over here, kind of, and show you guys that basically the same thing that we saw on the weekly time frame is playing out over here in terms of accumulation, right? So, and it's happened several times. So let's go to a 5-minute chart, and you guys can see that we're now accumulating down here. This, you guys can see, is a zigzag right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then this is A, B, C for B. Now you have 1, 2, 3. This whole accumulation is basically our 4. I think we'll get a spring move down here into the green, right? To fill that gap. That'll be our 5th wave, and then we will push higher, right? So this is a smaller time frame. We've had accumulations over here, right? So this whole thing was an accumulation on a smaller time frame. Before that, we had an accumulation over here. But if you guys pay attention, the periods of time for the accumulation is getting shorter and shorter, right? Because this thing is really getting ready to take off. So where's the chart that I have it on? Yeah, so over here we had an accumulation. That was the initial push. This whole move right here was an accumulation, right, which I was following. And then we had this breakout. Then this was an accumulation, breakout. I think we're gonna have a small accumulation here, and then another breakout. Let me see. I guess I got it over here. Got it on one of these charts. There you go. Right. So this is a accumulation that happened a couple weeks ago, and then we broke out and jumped across the creek. Right. This is the smaller time frame. So exactly what's played out on the weekly time frame is playing out on these smaller time frames as well. And that's basically what's going to play out over here, in my opinion, right? So we come back into this green gap zone, fill it, push higher, and then we will retrace, right? So how am I getting these levels? We're gonna use basically our Fibonacci levels, so we can see this is a 1-to-1. So let's say we come back into, let's just say $25, which is where I think we're coming down to. A 1-to-1 would take us to around that $75 range. If this was a true third wave, we would expect it to come to the 1.618 level. But I think this is going to be a stronger move, which is why we're going to get a 1-2, 1-2, and then get a much stronger third wave that's basically fractal in nature, right? So 1, 2, 1, 2, and then this will be our third wave, and then we'll finish from there. So that all that remains to be seen, but I think the case is pretty clear based off of the bigger time frame, like I mentioned, that we're breaking out. Volume is picking up. It's gonna be, in my opinion, a little bit, not choppy, I don't want to say that, but there's going to be strong moves up, strong moves down. It's going to be very volatile. until we get to a point where it's just gonna be, you're not gonna be able to catch it, right? So, not financial advice. I'm not telling you guys to load up on shares or anything like that, but I do think that this is relatively early, um, and it's gonna be a strong move. So that's really all I got. I feel like there's so much more detail that I can get into, like intricate like wave counts and everything, but I think the point is pretty clear here, right? One, two, one, two, one, two for our third wave, and then take off. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comment section below. If you guys have any opinions not related to technical analysis, just about GameStop in general, about the whole situation with shorts and like derivatives and swaps and all that stuff, feel free to leave that in the comment section below. Please like the video. Please share the video if you guys think this is helpful. Again, I'm not saying that technical analysis is the end all be all. I understand there's a lot more stuff going on behind the scenes, but I do think the technical analysis confirms all of that stuff, right? It's just another factor to take in, right? It gives confluence, it gives more support to the idea that GameStop is really going to run. So, you know, for whatever it's worth, I mean, if it helps you guys, I'm a technical analyst. I like trading off of technicals, but I understand the larger narrative that's going on behind the scenes as well. So, if this helps you guys, again, please like it, please share it on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, however you guys can. Um, so I just want as many people to see it as possible. And then if you guys got criticism, leave your thoughts. I'm okay with that. But yeah, that's it. I will be back with more videos. I've taken a long time off. I got a lot of things going on. But I felt like I just had to jump in and give my 2 cents on what I think is taking place with GameStop. So there it is. Yeah, that's all I got for now, guys. Good luck if you guys are trading GameStop. Um, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.